were found hanging in a eucalyptus grove near Netanya. This retaliatory act widened the rift in the Jewish community. The Haganah declared, "The dissidents have carried out a most atrocious crime."
We repeatedly warned them, don't do it. Don't hang our comrades, don't hang them. But the British would not heed our warnings, so we had no choice but to retaliate. Of course, it was a cruel retaliation. We knew this and said so explicitly. I even received a letter from the father of one of the sergeants. I replied that he should blame Whitehall for the fact that his son was one of the victims. We did not want to kill his son or his friend. All we wanted was to save our own comrades' lives. But we could not. Had it not been for this retaliation, scores or even hundreds more of our fighters would have gone to the gallows.
Violence continues to rule in Palestine. British soldiers seek bodies in the Department of Labor building at Chechnik, where a few minutes before, a blast had partially wrecked the edifice. 3 policemen were blown to bits when they tried to remove an explosive-laden truck. Shaky walls are torn down. As the toll of dead mounts daily in the bitter war of reprisals, tight security measures are imposed by the British. Scores of Jewish leaders are jailed and rigid searches are conducted for terrorist weapons. These measures follow the hanging of 2 British sergeants by extremists. Palestine becomes an armed camp.
In September 1947, the UN General Assembly convened in Flushing Meadows, New York. On the agenda were the unscoped recommendations to end the British mandate and partition Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish and one Arab.
Afghanistan? No. Ukraine? Yes. Soviet Union? Yes. The United Kingdom? Abstain. The United States? Yes. Yugoslavia? Abstain.
The resolution of the DUC Committee for Palestine was adopted by 33 votes, 13 against, 10 abstentions.
The United Nations resolution to partition Palestine into a Jewish state and an Arab state caused outbursts of joy among the Jews of Palestine. For 2,000 years, declared Golda Meir, we longed for redemption. We anticipated this great day with awe, and now it has come, so great and wonderful that it is beyond expression.
The Jews rejoiced, celebrated, danced, and sang. I saw them with my own eyes on the beach, opposite the Moghrabi cinema and near the Cafe Pilz. I saw how happy they were. I returned to Jaffa, and people were walking about and saying, the Jews are rejoicing. The English have betrayed us.
In Palestine, the Arabs launched a round of hostilities, aiming to prevent the establishment of a Jewish state by force. A mob converged on the commercial center in Jerusalem, attacking Jewish passers-by. Before the very eyes of the British police, they looted shops and set them on fire. The riots forced thousands of Jews to abandon their homes for safer neighborhoods. The winter of 1948 was harsher than usual. People were afraid to go outside. Whoever did go out took a can with him, hoping to find a queue to buy kerosene. The semi-siege situation began to leave its mark. The lack of fuel and food became more and more acute. Jerusalem was divided. At the Jaffa Gate, the Arabs set up a roadblock, cutting off the Jewish quarter of the old city. The British Army agreed to bring supplies to the besieged inside, making their way around the wall. The British made certain to bring in only food. They did not hand over the supplies until they made sure that they contained no smuggled weapons or ammunition. There were roadblocks throughout the city, and every passerby was searched. Despite this, the Arabs did succeed in penetrating Jewish neighborhoods. On February the 1st, a booby-trapped car destroyed the building of the Palestine Post, an English-language Jewish newspaper. 3 weeks later, Jewish Jerusalem was shaken once again by an explosion on Ben Yehuda Street in the center of the city. More than 50 bodies were pulled out of the rubble. This disaster, perpetrated by pro-Arab British deserters, intensified the crisis in Jewish-British relations. The recurring question was, where exactly does Britain stand? Government House continued to manage the affairs of the country. However, the High Commissioner, Sir Alan Cunningham, complained that during the final months of his term of office, he was compelled to maintain control without a clear policy from London. Sir Alan therefore continued to go about his daily routine. In January 1948, he participated in a ceremonial bestowal of honors. This strange event took place while only a short distance away. The Arabs and Jews were killing each other, and as His Majesty's forces were observing the events from a standpoint of neutrality. The Jews complained that neutrality usually worked against them. Until the very last day of the British Mandate, the Royal Air Force did not cease pursuing the dilapidated ships laden with Jewish refugees sailing towards the shores of Palestine. But while hunting down illegal immigrants in order to deport them to internment camps in Cyprus, they tolerated the infiltration of Arab volunteers and mercenaries across Palestine's borders. The Arabs no longer bothered to conceal their forces in the hills. They even invited reporters and photographers to observe their maneuvers. Britain uttered mild protests over the presence of a foreign army in the country, yet took no action to remove it from the area, as she did not wish to spoil her relations with the Arab states. On January the 10th, an Anglo-Iraqi pact was signed by British Foreign Secretary Ernest Bevin. Bevin visualized Britain playing a major role in the Middle East. Hence, the official announcements that Britain had decided to leave Palestine met with considerable skepticism.
The people in the Foreign Office, I don't suppose there was unanimous advice, there never is, but those people who gave that advice, I'm sure, were influenced by their judgment that the Arabs would win the subsequent war, with a very complex feeling. But part of it was, well, hell, we can't prevent these fellows fighting one another. I mean, we'd only get a lot of British soldiers killed in between Arabs and Jews and things, and very likely it will be settled by the Arabs winning. But even if it isn't, we can't stay there. It was largely an act of impotence.
The impression that the Arabs had the upper hand was strengthened on March the 1st, when they succeeded in planting a booby-trapped car at the Jewish Agency building. This was the best guarded spot in all Jewish Jerusalem,